The situation in the Middle East has caused expressions of anti-Semitism across America and in Western Europe. For those of us who've studied the master conspiracy which intends to rule us, this is not a surprising development. One of the main tools used by the Marxists is racial hatred. It does not matter if these Marxists are Nazis or communists. This process has been outlined in later editions of the Communist Manifesto relative to the organizations which began communism. In the foreword, it describes the secret organizations behind this movement along with their motives. The communists and the Nazis are clearly weaponizing racial hatred as a means for building their satanic movements. The racial programs of the Nazis and communists can be traced back to German Göttingen University professors Christoph Meiners and Ludwig Spittler. Hitler even honored Meiners as the impetus of his racial theories. Both of these men were members of the secret society, the Illuminati. I document this in my book, To the Victor Go the Myths and Monuments. Karl Marx grew up in a family of Jews that converted to Christianity. He then entered the University of Berlin, where he was subjected to satanic teachings and emerged as a Satanist who hated Jews as well as Christians. He even wrote a poem to Satan. The communist movement has long controlled elements of both sides of the movements concerning racial hatred. They form groups to create racial hatred and other groups to oppose racial hatred. They've done this with the Jewish people and many other substantial racial or religious groups within a targeted country. They even did it within the civil rights movement in America, pitting white against black. The best documentation of this is the movie produced in the 1960s called Anarchy USA, which you can see at jbs.org. Over the years, the John Birch Society has exposed communist organizations and their leadership, such as the Black Panthers. In return, we've been attacked as racists or anti-Semitics because of their leadership being either Jewish or black. Even within certain black organizations, such as the Black Panthers and Black Muslims, the rise of anti-Semitism was promoted by the communists, to the point where, when the educational efforts of the John Birch Society began to cause these organizations to wane, their leaders segued into becoming Muslim leaders instead of black leaders. The most famous of these people were the leaders of the Black Panthers, Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown, who became imams in the Muslim arena. They both remained Marxists, but turned their efforts from being against Whitey into being against Jews and Christians and building militant Muslim organizations in the United States. Such things also happened in Europe with Carlos the Jackal, a terrorist who became a Muslim author. The same thing was quietly segueing on college campuses with former leaders in the militant organizations becoming the professors on campuses all across the country. The more white-oriented organizations, such as the Students for a Democratic Society, even urged their followers to don business suits and behave like responsible citizens to infiltrate academia and the business community. So the communist-controlled organizations stopped filling the streets with communist demands for a time, while they built their base in the schools by educating our children in Marxism. This caused the general public to go back to sleep until recently. Part of this movement to build Marxist thinking among the people was the ability to call the enemies of communism racists, which was a tactic used against the John Birch Society. Now anyone who opposes communism are called racists, and it continues today. Actually, this problem in academia has been going on for over a century, but so slowly that the parents didn't notice. These problems can be seen in such books as To the Victor Go the Myths and Monuments, In the Shadows of the Deep State by myself, and How Utopians Are Using Government Schools to Destroy America's Children by Samuel Blumenfeld and Alex Newman. It is only recently that the problem has gotten so bad that people are noticing. And recently, racial and religious differences formed the core of the teaching of critical race theory, which we are now seeing played out in our streets. Over the past several years, school board meetings exposed many issues within the public school curriculum. Parents who object to their children being taught critical race theory are being labeled as terrorists. Traditional Catholics are also being slapped with that same label. This is all part of a communist-led movement. The John Birch Society stands firm on the principle of enlisting men and women of good character, humane conscience, and religious ideals. Our sole purpose is to safeguard the Constitution. Anti-Semitism is never allowed. Racial hatred and declining morality are poisons which will destroy civilization. Morality is essential for a free state, and the communists have always been involved in the deterioration of a country's moral base. Communism is behind the hatred of race, religion, and society's moral decline. It is a provable fact that without the Communist Party, the LGBTQ movement would never have existed. You can go back to the cpusa.org website for June 25, 2021, for the article Queer Liberation's Communist Party Roots for documentation of this fact. Americans need to be aware of what is happening. I encourage you to stay informed. Read the several books I have discussed today. One of the best tools for staying up to date on current events is the New American Magazine. If you don't have a subscription, I recommend that you get one. Momentum is building. People are waking up to the communist agenda. Let's not fall for any more of their tactics. Be kind, and let's work together to eliminate all evil from our country.